What's up, y'all? It's your girl Roxie with Roxiie Says, and we're going to talk about it today. We are reviewing Married at First Sight. We are on episode 8. I really enjoyed this episode, y'all. It was good. A lot popped off, so let's get right into it. But before we do, please don't forget to hit like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that you hit that notification bell so that you are made aware every time I post a new video. Okay, so let's get right into this episode. It is day 17 of marriage, so all of the couples are hosting little private parties tonight, and they're all preparing. So first off, we see Juan and Carla, and he is throwing a bit of shade already, saying that he's cleaning up after her. We also see that Carla doesn't know how to turn on a stove. Carla, what's that about? What? I have concerns, okay? I don't care if it's a new stove that she's never used before. Stoves are very straightforward, okay? And they have words on them that say things. Even Juan has to tell her, turn the knob to where it says ignite, okay? I don't know if she's trying to play that role of, oh, I can't do anything. I'm just a little princess. Do it for me. Like when she asked him to stir her tea for her in Mexico. But this was absolutely ridiculous. So they're having a toga party tonight as a housewarming event. And to prepare, Juan wants the place to be clean. So he is scrubbing toilets. He's throwing trash away. And Carla isn't cleaning up like she said she would. She's just walking around burning sage. Now, I don't know if she thinks that the sage is a more important form of cleaning. Maybe she does. Or if she's just trying to get out of cleaning by burning sage. Either way, I can already see that Juan is getting annoyed fast, and we're going to get to that a little bit later as well, all right? So next we see MM and Ikechi, and they are preparing for a little taco night. Child, when I say this conversation pissed me all the way off, all right? So MM says that she's ordered some tacos because she's never made them before, and she doesn't want to poison anyone. MM, tacos are not that complicated. I'm concerned about you as well. But Ikechi says that he could have made the tacos. He says that, in fact, he could have made everything, okay? And MM says, oh, I didn't know that you wanted to make the tacos. Did you say that? Did you tell me that? And MM had me cracking up in this scene because I would have said the same thing. Did you tell me that you wanted to make tacos? How am I supposed to automatically know that you desire to make tacos? You know we're having a party. You know that at parties, people have to eat food. Why do I have to ask you to make tacos? And MM is like, you could have communicated that with me and I would have made sure that you had everything that you needed to make those tacos, boo. And he's like, oh, well, it's too late now. And MM is like, oh no, it's not too late. We can still make it happen. We can still make it happen. And he's like, nah, forget it. You already done all the work of ordering. Akechi, play those stupid games with someone else. Play in someone else's face. And I am so glad that MM called him on his bluff, only for him to turn around and say, oh, I didn't really want to make the tacos. I was just telling you that I could have made the tacos. Then shut the hell up if you're not making the tacos. No one is interested in the possibility of you making some tacos. Are you making them or not? Anyways, MM says that things will be interesting because her cousin is coming over. And Akechi's like, oh, is there beef? Is there a problem? Because he was kind of aggressive at the wedding. This is what Akechi said. Akechi likes that word aggressive. We're going to get to that later. Now, I don't think that cuz was aggressive at all. He came at Akechi man to man and told him, you're not going to play with my cousin. Maybe you're not used to men with that type of demeanor, so it comes off as aggressive. But his voice wasn't raised, Akechi. He didn't curse at you. He was very calm. You're just used to those fluffy, whimsical, bullshit-ass ways of communicating with all of the nothing that be coming out of your mouth. So when a man comes to you and he comes to you straight, you view it as aggression. But Akechi makes sure to tell MM that he wasn't scared of her cousin or anything like that. And I said, okay, whatever, Akechi. So next we see David and Michelle, and they are preparing for their party. Michelle says that she isn't sold on the marriage yet, but they do get along better when they are in group settings. They both acknowledge that they don't talk much during the week, and David says that he is trying different communication styles to see which one Michelle likes best. He says that he left her a note on the counter earlier, letting her know that he'd be going to the gym, and when he came back, she didn't say anything about it. She didn't text him, nothing like that. And Michelle was like, oh, did you want me to write you a letter back? Michelle is an asshole, okay? But no, Michelle, he wants you to acknowledge it, okay? Like, oh, I saw the little note that you left me on the counter. It was cute. You know, that's what he wants. But Michelle doesn't like David, okay? So nothing that he does will ever be cute to her. Sorry to break it to you, David. But then Michelle says, hold up, you're trying to come at me. And boy, you didn't even come home last night. And you didn't call or text or anything. And I said, oops, she got you with that one, David. But he just skirts past that and he keeps mentioning other times when he has texted her and she hasn't responded. But where did you go, David? Was it the same night that Madison didn't go home to Allen? Was it that night? Y'all got to check y'all dates, okay? Anyways, David says that he feels that he is at a dead end as far as communication with Michelle. And Michelle is like, I don't know. We just both be busy, during the day. And the fact that David is expecting something different from Michelle when she just told you and the experts that she has already checked out from this relationship is a bit I am very concerned about a lot of y'all in this episode, okay? At this point, David and Michelle, y'all need to end this. It is not gonna work. It's just not gonna work, all right? So now we're at the gym with Allison. Y'all know that's Madison and Alan, all right? And I really think it's cute that Alan is making an effort to do things that Madison enjoys, and she definitely appreciates the effort. He says that he wants her to be attracted to him, so he's working towards that. But he says that he's not just doing it for her. Now, Alan, you already know that your uncoordinated behind would not have been on that machine if it wasn't for Madison. Cut the shit, all right? But he lets her know that he wants to spend more quality time with her, and she appears to like the idea of that. So we'll see how that goes. Oh boy. So now we are heading to this pool party, and Camille gonna have that blackometer out, and she is gonna be watching Tom's every move. So we see them sit and they eat, and the family tests both Camille and Tom about each other's favorite things. And Tom says that he wants to do a better job at taking notes of his partner's interests because he says that that is something that he underestimated the importance of in his past relationship. And then Camille's sister brings up the fact that Tom is the lightest skinned person that Camille has ever dated. And then Camille says, yeah, and as far as personality, I usually go for those loud showboat type of guys. And Tom's twin says that Camille is the very first girlfriend of Tom's that he feels isn't trying to make Tom into something that he isn't. And I said, oh, wait, because that's exactly what she's doing. Oh, wait, that is exactly what she's doing. Okay, twin? And we find out that they still haven't been intimate, which is no surprise to you, me, or anyone at that pool party, okay? But Camille says that the emotional connection has to grow, and she says that they've made some progress on that in the past 2 days. Camille's friends still have their doubts about Tom because he isn't her usual type, but Fran, Camille's usual type, has not worked for her in the past. Then they also discuss this cultural difference that Camille keeps claiming. And Tom is confused on what the actual difference is. Tom, I'm confused too. We all confused for you, okay? Tom's family asks Camille to explain what these differences are. And I'm like, girl, you better have an answer. You've been screaming it from the mountaintops. You better be able to articulate it. Not like how you weren't able to articulate it when the experts asked you to explain swag. But Camille says that Tom mentioned going to a bar that apparently is known to have racial incidents, okay? So it gave her a vibe of, why does he go here? And I'm just adding on and completing her thought. I think that what she's wondering is he that detached from his black side that he has no problem frequenting an establishment that is known to be kind of racist? That is a valid concern. The swag stuff was a bit childish and foolish, but Tom, if you are up in a bar and they are known to treat black people wrong, but when you're in there, you're like, hey, in the club, we all fam, that is a problem. That would be a problem for me, and there would be an immediate disconnect after that. Camille, you should have led with that, okay? Had you led with that, I wouldn't have gotten into your ass the way I did in my last review, okay, sis? Gosh. But I do hope that we see Camille and Tom go deeper into that conversation about the club. So Tom's family likes Camille, and they feel that she'd be able to encourage him in life. And Tom's twin says that if he didn't have someone to push him, he would be stagnant. And I said, I don't like that. Does that mean that Tom isn't motivated and ambitious on his own? We're going to keep an eye out for that, okay? So now we are at Carla and Juan's Toga party with family and one of Carla's friends who looks like everybody hates Chris. All right, so they discuss the honeymoon and how great the experts meeting was for their relationship. And they're both learning how to be kind and respectful to one another. Juan says that he now welcomes Carla checking him when he says or does something that's off the wall. He says that he understands that he can be a bit unaware at times, all right? So Carla leaves with some friends to give them a tour of the building, and Juan stays behind to talk with some of Carla's friends. And he asks them what he could do to help things flow better with Carla. And the friend says that Carla likes compliments, and she's also told her friend that she doesn't know if Juan is really attracted to her like that because he doesn't compliment her. And Juan says that this is an area where he can definitely improve of, but he says that he has to take it slow with that. And that was very interesting to me. It was very interesting because a few minutes ago, as soon as everybody hates Chris came in the room, you complimented him. You complimented his outfit. Now, Juan, you better have had told Carla that she looked beautiful tonight. Because if you were complimenting other people and you didn't tell her Juan, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, but something tells me that you did not compliment Carla, all right? You already paid more attention to David's feelings than to hers on the honeymoon, and now you're giving compliments to everyone but her. I don't know if Juan is one of those guys who's like, oh, I'm not going to compliment my girl because I don't want her feeling herself too much or thinking too highly of herself. But that's kind of what it's giving, all right? He then tells the friends about his busy work and gym schedule, and he says that it's not that he forgets about Carla, but sometimes he might drop the ball a bit, okay? But he says that he's gonna make more of an effort, and he thanks the friends for telling him this information. But the friend says that she just doesn't want him to do it just because. It should be genuine, like the same way that you just complimented Everybody Hates Chris, right? You didn't have a conversation with him prior. You didn't find out that Chris likes compliments. No, you just did it. It was just natural for you, okay? So his reason isn't reasoning enough for me because based on the 1 hour that I spend with Carla a week, and honestly, it's not even a full hour because other people are on the show, I can already tell that Carla is a woman who likes compliments. See, the fact that Juan can't or refuses to pick up on that, but he can take initiative with David when they were in Mexico, that is a problem, Juan. Is everything okay? And I can already tell that the friend asking Juan all these questions, she don't like him, okay? She didn't even want to sit down when he offered her a seat at the beginning of this conversation, but we will see how things go moving forward. So we are back with David and Michelle. Their friends and family come over. Michelle gives them a tour and she makes sure that everyone in that apartment knows that they are sleeping in separate bedrooms, okay? So we see David and he has a private talk with Michelle's friend and sister. And he says that it's been very rough. So he's asking them for some insight into what changes he can make to help the marriage. And he says that he's not worried about making too many changes to please Michelle because he knows that those changes will ultimately make him a better individual. They then speak on him not being able to match Michelle's lifestyle. And he says that he's trying to understand what her idea of lifestyle actually entails that he might not be able to measure up to. Michelle's sister says that their grandfather told them that a man is supposed to elevate and enhance your life. And I said, period, Grandpa. And Michelle doesn't live this lavish life, but from what she's seeing, David isn't even on her level. So we can't even begin to speak about him enriching anything. Michelle tells David's friends that she just wants to enjoy life and she doesn't want to penny pinch. She works too hard to penny pinch. And his friend says that there's no point in David moving out and paying rent now when he can just save up his money to buy a home, which is also valid. Michelle says that she pays $23.50 in rent, and the friend is like, okay, see, my mortgage is only $1,200. And he says that he also owns property. And he tells Michelle that she's pretty much throwing her money away by renting. And then he says that David can actually afford to buy whatever he wants, whatever condo or home he wants. David can afford it. And I'm like, well, he should because he lives at home and he says that he has 2 careers. He better be able to afford it. I think the main issue here is that Michelle doesn't necessarily believe that David doesn't need to live at home. And that's the same thing that she told the experts. But for all we know, David could very well have more money than Michelle. Now, I don't know how they deal with finances on this show, but these people should be required to submit their tax returns, credit reports, investments, all of that. All of that. This is a marriage. And I feel that if that was a requirement, everyone would be able to make more informed decisions and they would be able to feel more secure in those decisions. David's friend also says that he feels like David is trying way more, and Michelle actually agrees with that, okay? And he asks her, how long do you expect to keep shutting him down over and over before he just checks out? He's going to check out eventually. And I said, ooh, I like this friend because he definitely kept it real with Michelle. So next we see Camille and Tom. They get home from the pool party and Camille asks him how he feels about finding out any new information that he didn't already know. And Tom says that he didn't know that he was one of the few light-skinned people that Camille has dated, okay? And that's not her usual type. He says that he just assumed that she dated more light-skinned guys. And she's like, well, why did you assume that? And he says, I don't know, maybe because you're light-skinned. And Camille is like, you see how dumb Tom just sounded, Camille? That's exactly how you be sounding, okay? But Camille clearly likes this conversation because she keeps it going. She's like, oh, how did you feel about my friend saying that we were so different? And Tom says that he has been around a lot of people and he has experienced different things culturally. So he's still not understanding where the disconnect is. Camille, now would have been the time to mention that bar conversation that you had with his family, okay? So that you can explain it to him. Why did you have the conversation with them, but now he's asking you for more clarity and you don't have the conversation with him? I don't get that. Then Camille asks him if he's dated Black women before, and Tom says that he had a Black girlfriend when he was in college. They dated for quite some time, and to me, that translated into I dated one Black girl in college, and that was it for me. That was it for me, okay? But Camille, she doesn't ask any follow-up questions because I would have definitely asked him for clarification. Was that the only black girl? Did you date others? What happened? Why did y'all break up? Why didn't you date any other black girls if you didn't? This would have also been a good time to ask him why he cheated on his ex and lied to her about it at the wedding. Camille, do you need me to make a list of questions for you? Because you are missing some very important ones. And what are you wearing? You know what? You know what, Camille? I'm going to let you rock this week. I'm going to leave her alone. But she does tell Tom that these differences, they're just surface level, and she doesn't want Tom to think that they're a deal breaker. How can he not think that, Camille, when it is literally all you talk about? This is all y'all talk about. But she does say that she would like to think that she's a bit deeper than that. And I'm like, okay, girl, I guess we're going to have to wait and see. So now it is time for MM and Ikechi's taco party. And I'm still mad about that conversation because the way I would have called Ikechi's bluff and cancel that whole taco delivery and tell him go make the tacos since you want to be Yvette so bad. If you know, you know, all right? Anyways, everyone starts showing up, and then the man of the hour shows up, big cousin Rafu, all right? And Ikechi knows that he is shook. I don't care how much he tries to act like he isn't. So they all sit down and they start discussing how things have been since the honeymoon. And MM says that she feels safety in how she's able to communicate with Ikechi. And she also says that she likes him and that she knows that she can be vulnerable and open up with him. And I'm like, MM, you really feel like that, sis? You really feel like that with Ikechi? You're lying, okay? You're lying. I'm sorry. And I'm telling y'all, MM just be saying what she thinks sounds good. That's all she does. And I don't believe for 1 second that MM feels like that with Ikechi. I feel like she has a lot of reservations about Ikechi. It be all over her face. Anyways, they ask Ikechi the same question, and he's like, well, I asked for someone who was ambitious and a partner, and I feel like they landed that. Because we have such easy conversation and that's hard to find and blah, 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 blah. Even Big Cuz gave the side eye because he knows that Ikechi is always talking a whole bunch of nothing. So, child, he asked them to describe each other in 5 words, okay? Ikechi says beautiful, passionate, ambitious. And then he says that MM is a little aggressive. And MM's friend, Claire, we're going to call her Claire Huxtable, okay? She says, elaborate on that. And Ikechi says, oh, you know, I'm used to enjoying time together and things are flowing, but not a series of questions, okay? He says that he's used to more laid back conversation. And MM is just sitting there smiling and grinning through these conversations like she always does. When it's all over her face that she knows she has something to say, but we're going to get to that, okay? But she says, let me give my 5 words. Meanwhile, the camera keeps panning to Claire and she's not feeling Ikechi's answer at all. At all. So MM describes Ikechi as smart, laid back, calm, creative, and the opposite of aggressive. So Claire chimes in and she's like, oh, nonchalant? Is that what you mean? And MM is like, yeah, nonchalant. And Ikechi's like, oh, wait, hold up. I don't like the connotation of nonchalant. And Claire said, and I don't like the connotation of aggressive. You better get him, Miss Huxtable. You better get him together, okay? She had time today, baby. So Ikechi, you recognize the negative connotation behind nonchalant, but you don't recognize the negative connotation behind aggressive? And Ikechi tells Claire, it ain't about you. He asked me. And Claire says, yeah? Well, we're asking her. I said, girl, you better get his ass. You better get his ass. And baby, the way Ikechi's entire body language completely changed, you can see it on his face that he is annoyed. His arms are crossed now when they weren't before. And Ikechi's cousin swoops in and he says that they can balance each other out and he can help her to be not aggressive at times. And then MM finally speaks up for herself and she says, look, y'all need to stop calling Black women aggressive. And Rafu chimes in and he says, well, there's nothing wrong with being aggressive with the right man. He says, some men need that. What Rafu was really doing in this moment was being petty and calling Ikechi a bitch, okay? Let's be clear. That is exactly what he was doing because he doesn't like Ikechi, and Ikechi clearly picked up on this because he's like, oh, well, I'm not scared of MM. I can lead. I know how to lead. And Rafu, he's like, you know, well, I mean, I asked you at the wedding if you could handle her. I asked you, and since you're so chill about everything, I guess she has no choice but to be the aggressive one in the relationship. See, the men are turning this into a conversation about masculinity and who's man enough and strong enough to lead a woman and blah, blah, blah. But that's not what this is about. This is about labeling as aggressive when she is not aggressive. And gets on my damn nerves, okay? She gets on my damn nerves, but aggressive, is not, okay? Now, if he said thirsty, I would have gave him that, but not aggressive. And in MM's confessional, she says that she's not aggressive. In fact, she says that she's done a lot of work to make sure that she didn't come off as aggressive, specifically in this marriage and in this experience. And she says that she's also made a conscious effort to be open, soft, and vulnerable with Ikechi. And I have been saying that there are so many conversations that I see between these two that warrant a bit of pause from and she just smiles through it. And it irritates me, but I've been saying that. So for Ikechi to turn around and call aggressive, I don't like that shit at all. So Ikechi, your new wife, who you have just met and who you know nothing about, is asking you questions, and you view that as aggression. Anyway, child, next we see them break off into private conversations, and we see Ikechi having a conversation with Rafiu. And he pretty much tells Rafiu that the two of them don't do much because he be so busy, okay? And Rafiu says, well, when you're courting a woman, okay, you can't court her from home, all right? And I said, come on, Rafiu. Rafiu says, look, y'all need to do new things, go to different places, have new experiences. And Ikechi says, well, this isn't a normal situation, so we can't date normally. Yeah, Ikechi, but it seems like y'all aren't dating at all. At all. And then when you come home, you run into bed and fake sleep at 9 o'clock. No, it is not a normal situation, but you still have to make the most out of it and be intentional. And it is clear that he hasn't done any of that, nor does he desire to. And they ask him about combining finances, life insurance policies. When will y'all be making those changes since you are now a married couple? And Ikechi says, oh, we're not going to be doing that right now. That's pretty much what he says. Now that I agree with. That I agree with. These people are strangers, okay? So we ain't going to just be combining finances. I don't know if you got a gambling problem, I don't know what you got going on. We are not combining finances. I don't even know you like that, okay? They then ask him if he sees himself falling in love with and he's like, I feel like I'm on an interview. And Rafiu was like, it's a yes or no question. When I tell you I be loving Rafiu's energy, the way that his presence just shakes Ikechi, it cracks me up every single time. But Ikechi eventually says that he does see himself enjoying in the future, and he sees himself maybe loving her. But he definitely sees himself selling that book. Okay, he didn't say that. But Ikechi keeps reiterating that this isn't a normal situation, and he is definitely using that as an excuse 100%. Ikechi, you are the one who chased this show from state to state. Remember that, only to get on it and keep saying how unnormal it is. But that's what you signed up for both times. And I'm sure that in the midst of that, when you weren't chosen the first season, I'm sure that you signed up for other shows as well. So Ikechi clearly isn't saying the words that Rafiu wants to hear, and he lets it be known just like he did at the wedding. And Ikechi says, I'm not here to please y'all. I said, ooh, child. In Claire's confessional, after she took a deep breath because she had to calm herself down the same way I be having to calm myself down, don't want to come off as too aggressive. Okay, we don't want to do that. But she says that Ikechi has a lot of excuses and red flags because he isn't doing anything to get to know And she sees that Ikechi could care less about this relationship and care less about And I really hope that wakes up to that, and I hope that she wakes up to it very soon, okay? So the couples have now been married for 18 days, and we're at Allison's apartment. We see her bring him breakfast in bed, and she tells him that she's going to do a spa day with her little friends, so he needs to leave. And I was like, girl, what? Are you serious? And he's just like, really? Okay. And child, the way that I was like, okay, Madison, you are doing way too much. But it's just a ploy so that Alan can leave the house so that Madison can set up for a surprise birthday party for him, okay? Now, in this situation, I guess that it's a good thing that Alan is a bit of a pushover and he didn't protest too much, because imagine starting an argument with someone who's trying to plan a surprise birthday party for you. That would be absolutely horrible. But if there was no surprise birthday party, we have just seen another example of Alan not protesting anything, not asking any questions, because that is the same thing that he did when Madison spent the night night out and came back the next morning like everything was all hunky-dory. But anyways, he leaves and she tells him to make sure that he's back by 4. I think that Madison planning this was a very nice gesture, and it's definitely a sign that maybe they're moving a bit closer, okay? So next we see Camille and Tom, and they meet with her sister, and they're having the same conversation again about Tom not being her usual type, about her usual type not being light skinned, about the mannerisms, and why she didn't have that initial chemistry with Tom. So Camille's sister asked Tom, when you hear cultural differences, what does that mean to you? And I'm like, no, ask Camille what it means to her. She's the one who keeps complaining about it, okay? Ask her. So Sis explains the complexities of Black identity, and she says that this is something that can be very hard to navigate if someone hasn't studied it, and society doesn't make it any easier. But she tells them that they need to get on the same page as far as who they are individually, if they even want to identify as a Black couple, what cultural things are important to them, and how do they want to embrace those things, because she feels like they've all spent the majority of their time in predominantly white spaces, and we cannot help but to be a product of our environment. She also explains that Black women specifically don't always identify or embrace the term POC or person of color because we have different experiences than other women of color, which forces us to strongly identify as Black women first and foremost, whereas a man is able to still navigate the world and lean on being a man, which is 1000% true. And Tom appreciates the conversation because he says that he's never even thought about the female perspective of race identity. And at first I was annoyed. When this conversation started, but I have to say I absolutely loved this conversation, and I feel that it was very helpful for both Thomas and Camille. But then it made me a little confused because I'm like, hold up, Camille. So you mean to tell me that this entire time, your sister, who is a scholar and an incredible resource about race identity, you had her in your back pocket this entire time and you still come off as so ignorant? I don't understand that. Please make it make sense. So anyways, now it is time for Alan's 36th birthday surprise party. And we see that Alan is genuinely surprised and he is really touched by the gesture. He puts on the tiara. He tells Madison how nice she looks. Juan, take notes, okay? He gave his girl a compliment and he gives Madison a hug and he thanks her because he says that he has never had a surprise birthday party before. And you can see that he is so appreciative and excited. Alan has the chat with Madison's friends and he tells them how amazing she is, and he says that he can definitely understand why the experts paired them up. But he also says that he would really like to spend more quality time with Madison. He's like, how about one day, we skip the gym and we have a Netflix and cuddle day. Alan is really adorable. He really is. Meanwhile, Madison is telling Alan's friends that she needs to see how strong of a foundation they have, and they don't know quite yet because this is so new. She also says that she's having a hard time with Alan not giving her feedback on the things that he doesn't like about her. He's a good communicator, but she still wants him to be able to tell her what he doesn't like about her. And his friends say that Alan might overlook a lot, which has already been demonstrated multiple times. So he's used to not being vocal about things that may bother him. I already picked up on that, okay? From the way that he described his past relationship, that came as no surprise to me when his friend said it. Meanwhile, Alan is telling Madison's friends that he would really like for Madison to get back into the vibe of being in a relationship and considering him so that they can combine their lives, combine their friends. And Alan says that Madison still does things with her friends separately and he would like to be invited to those outings. Across the room, Madison is telling Alan's friends that she can't say for certain if this relationship is going to work out, but she definitely hopes that it does. And she genuinely came here to find a lifelong partner. So now we are back at Dave and Michelle's place, and he's cooking her dinner to show her that he can cook, okay? And he is independent. So they discuss the flag football game that's going to happen tomorrow with everyone, and Michelle isn't looking forward to it, but she doesn't look forward to anything, so that was expected. And then David says that he's still sore from his workout at the gym with Madison. And I'm like, you're still sore from your vacation in Mexico? You still sore from that? And Michelle is like, oh, when did you go to the gym with Madison? And he's like, like Tuesday or Wednesday. And Michelle is like, oh, okay, that's funny. Yeah, it is very funny, Michelle. Very funny indeed. So then she asks him if him and his friend discussed their conversation from the other night. And David says that his friend thinks that Michelle has a list that she's checking boxes on. And Michelle is like, well, so did you. And he's like, no, I didn't have a list. And she was like, yes, you did. You said you wanted blonde hair with blue eyes. And I said, period, Michelle. Period, Michelle. Just like I said last week, I'm glad that she clocked that. And David's like, oh, but that's a physical list. Okay, sir, but it's still a list. And Michelle says, oh, so you only asked for physical stuff and you were just like, what, hoping that I would be a good person? I got to give it to Michelle in this conversation. She had me cracking up because clearly that is all he cares about. And if you think that Michelle doesn't realize, oh, I can treat him however I want because he puts my physical attributes on a pedestal over his own and over the women who share his same physical attributes. If you think that Michelle is not aware of that, you are sadly mistaken, okay? Michelle is well aware of that. But David says that he told them that he wants someone who's loyal and genuine. Duh, David. We all want that, okay? But she wants David to know that her list consisted of more than just finances. And David apologizes and he says, yeah, I didn't mean to paint you that way. I'm sure that you had other things on your list. Then we see David compliment Michelle's outfit and he tells her how nice he looks. Juanathan, they are making you look horrible this episode. Horrible. But Michelle doesn't even say, oh, thank you for the compliment. Instead, she says, I can point you in the right direction of how to dress. Michelle, she really had me cracking up in this episode. But of course, David is like, sure, what do you want me to wear? And she says, less tank tops, okay? And lose them jean shorts. And David is absolutely fine with those suggestions. So it is finally time. The delicious meal is ready to eat. David, what the hell is this? What is this? I would have rather eaten Akechi's imaginary tacos, okay? But Michelle says that she does enjoy it. She says the potatoes are good. She says the chicken is good. And she actually calls it chef's kiss. So David is really happy to hear that. And he also says that he would like to go get some sushi again. And Michelle is like, wow, look at you broadening your horizons. Her tone is so condescending. Her tone is so condescending, but David lives for any morsel of her approval, okay? So he's good with it. And he's like, oh, you can even dress me. And Michelle says that she likes the idea of that. And they share a little laugh and they eat their little piece of chicken, okay? So next we see Juan and Carla and they're going to bed. And Juan is like, oh, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. He said it like 2 or 3 times. And I was wondering if he just kept repeating that so that he can avoid a conversation with Carla. But anyways, Carla asks Juan what actions make him feel loved. And Juan says that he likes acts of service and he likes doing things for other people that makes the other person's life easier. And they show clips of him cleaning up around the apartment. And he says that that is how he saw his mom show his dad her appreciation. So that's where he picked it up from. And Juan says that he's cleaned the apartment and he's washed the sheets and the dishes. And Carla's like, okay, yeah, but that's not what I mean. That's not what I mean. What do you want me to do? Do you mean that you want me to clean the apartment? And he's like, no, I'm satisfied with what you've shown me so far. Now that Juan, I don't believe because you was throwing mad shade at her, but we're going to get back to that. But again, Carla says, that's not what I'm asking. I want to know, how do you feel loved? And not what you saw your parents do. What makes you feel loved, okay? Is it dinner being ready on the table when you get home? Is it this? Is it that? And Juan says that he likes actions. He says that he's not a lovey-dovey person. He's not a physical touch type of person. And we can already see that, but the issue is that Carla is that type of person. She says that she's close like that with her friends, but especially when she is in a romantic relationship. See, this was a very important conversation because usually the way that we like to receive affection is the way that we show it, right? So if someone is touching you a lot, usually that means that they want you to touch them a lot. If someone is doing a lot of acts of service for you, that usually means that that is what they would like back. And that's what makes them feel loved. But Carla and Juan have different love languages. So Juan is going around cleaning up this apartment thinking that he's doing something for Carla. Meanwhile, Carla is thinking, this man don't touch me. He don't hug me. He don't cuddle me. He don't compliment me. All he does is go around this apartment, cleaning it all day and avoiding me, right? So there's a disconnect there, which is why communication is so important. And Juan says, okay, I got it. I got it now. And Carla is hoping that this conversation can help them grow their affection. But Carla, don't forget that Juan's love language is acts of service, okay? So stop burning all that damn sage and get your ass up and go clean the apartment. That's what he likes. It's a two-way street. Now for you, Juanathan, you have now been told by 2 different people in this episode what Carla needs to feel loved and appreciated. And you said, yes, I got it. Yes, I understand both times. Don't bring your ass on my screen next week all confused talking about, oh, you don't know what's going on. You don't know what she needs. Don't you do it, okay? So now it is finally time for this flag football game, and Madison arrives alone because she says that Alan is at home drunk and grumpy. I said, what? Alan? Child, they rolled the tape and they show us Alan at home. He laying on the couch and he like, what, 5 minutes? I'm not going. I said, oh, Alan, I wouldn't expect this from you. Not cute at all. And she says that she's really upset because he hasn't been the nicest. So I'm like, okay, so Alan is an angry drunk. So all that aggression that he has from day to day that he keeps inside when he get drunk, that's when he shows it. That's scary, all right? We definitely gonna have to watch out for that, okay? So while they're playing their little football game or whatever, we see MM and Akechi, and they show up late. Now, why you two? Why you two had to be the late ones? Why? And then we see Michelle, and she's in her confessional, and she's calling everyone old because they're sore, and their backs are hurting, and their knees are hurting. Meanwhile, Michelle can barely run. Girl, if you don't go somewhere, did you see that girl running? She can barely run, okay? So not too much, Michelle. Next, we see the men and the women, and they break off for their conversations. David is telling the guys how great yesterday was with Michelle and how great the vibe and the connection is. Meanwhile, Michelle is telling the ladies that she actually feels like they're finally on the same page and they've had some good connections and the pressure is off. Could you imagine if Michelle and David actually end up being like the only successful couple from this bunch? I would be absolutely shocked. But Michelle says that she did shut down on the expert visit because she felt that she was getting the brunt of the blame. Carla says that she actually liked her expert visit, but things with Juan seem very platonic. And she says that, child, she feels like she is kissing her cousin because she says that they only kiss on the cheek. Meanwhile, Juan is telling the guys that despite Carla being beautiful and having sex appeal, he's just not feeling the organic chemistry with Carla, and he says that he can't quite put his finger on it. And Akechi chimes in, and he's like, I get it because I'm not a touchy-feely type of person, but MM is. And he says that he's not used to an in-your-face type of personality. And he also tells them about the meeting with her family where he felt pressured to do married people things when this marriage is very different. He also says that this process is very scary because it's expedited, but he says that he's also trying to speed up his thought process. No, you're not, Akechi. And you already knew that this was an expedited process when you applied for the show 2 times. I don't want to hear it from you, okay? Meanwhile, MM is telling the ladies, I know we were in Mexico, we were really intimate, and y'all were all looking like, But she says now when she asks him simple questions like, what do you want in a wife? He views it as aggressive. When she asks him, what do you want out of a marriage? He views it as aggressive. And Madison says, well, if that's the case, then I guess we all aggressive in here. Exactly, because these are normal questions to ask anyone who you are married to. And Madison says that her and Alan are still struggling on the romantic side, and him getting drunk last night and not being there today definitely doesn't help that situation. She says that she's pissed. She says that she's pissed and she's really turned off by him, and she's definitely going to talk to him about it when she gets home. And child, I cannot wait for that conversation, okay? So it looks like next week, Tom might finally see a little bit of that lingerie that Camille has been talking about all this time. Akechi is saying that he feels like a piece of meat when he's in the house with MM, and Juan still isn't attracted to Carla. Child, this episode was so good. Tell me all of your thoughts in the comments. You know we love to chat about it down below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Make sure that you hit the notification bell so that you're made aware every time I post a new video. If you're not aware, I'm also reviewing The Ultimatum Season 3 on Netflix. The show is crazy. The reviews are crazy. So definitely check that out. And I cannot wait to see you in my next video. Bye!
Goodbye, Roxiie says